It looks like the King of the Ring could be making a comeback under Triple H, who himself is a former King of the Ring winner. As reported in this week's Observer, the chatter is that King of the Ring could return as its own pay-per-view again, but with King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown all at the same time. So close, yet so far. I've wanted King of the Ring back as a pay-per-view for a long time. The last one they did was 20 years ago, which is the one that Brock Lesnar won. And it didn't do great numbers on pay-per-view, so Vince McMahon made the decision to drop it. And they've dusted it off a handful of times since then as a gimmick for TV. Now they can make it a Peacock special, and they don't have to worry about how many buys the show gets. They get paid the same either way. They've already got their guaranteed Peacock money. I would love to see them do the entire tournament in one night, like they used to. The problem is you can't do that and do an entire women's tournament all in the same night. That would be 16 matches. Without any buys or anything, 16 matches just for the tournament alone. You know, even on those King of the Ring pay-per-views initially, they at least had a title match. They had other matches on the undercard. You're not going to have 2 complete tournaments in one night with 16 matches. 16 match, or as I call it, an AEW pay-per-view. You're not going to do that. So that means it would probably be semifinals and finals only for each one. I think the days of the one-night tournament are done. You know, they have more television time to fill these days than they did back then. 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And television is where they make their money now. It's not pay-per-view. The world has changed. So why not blow it up? Blow it up big. With a big bracket, March Madness style, maybe over a period of weeks. And then you kind of whittle it down to the semis and the finals on the actual pay-per-view. You can have it replace Money in the Bank, with the winners being able to challenge for the title of their choosing at SummerSlam. That's the way that I would work it. When I say replace Money in the Bank, I don't mean getting rid of the Money in the Bank concept. I mean replacing Money in the Bank as its own standalone pay-per-view. So that way, the tournament has real stakes to it beyond just wearing a fucking plastic crown on their head and making it, the title of their choosing. Not only does that create some intrigue about which championship they might go after, but it doesn't lock WWE into a situation where if they want to put over a star on the rise, let's just say someone like Carmelo Hayes, right? Eventually, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, he's called up, he's on Raw or he's on SmackDown. Maybe it's someone like him. Maybe it's a mid-carder, right? It doesn't lock them into a world championship match that they don't want to do. SummerSlam is their second biggest show of the year. They have a big main event already in mind that year, let's say. Look who our last King of the Ring winner was. Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is not going to SummerSlam in the main event to challenge for the world championship. On no fucking planet is that going to happen. But you need to have something on the line. I honestly, I am sick of the Money in the Bank concept. I think that the whole concept has been played out for so long, but people still like it. So bring it back as a WrestleMania staple. It does not need to be its own pay-per-view anymore, but you can do the Money in the Bank stuff at WrestleMania. You do a men's Money in the Bank match on night 1, you do a women's Money in the Bank match on night 2, or vice versa, it doesn't matter. But you separate them, you have one on each night, and that would be the way to go. Now, Meltzer says one of the changes they're making, in addition to that, potentially, is doing fewer gimmick pay-per-views, which would be a welcome change. That would be a positive change. Get rid of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, get rid of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, get rid of the TLC pay-per-view. We don't need them. Extreme Rules, I could take it or leave it. If it's up to me, my preference, get rid of that too. You've got the Royal Rumble, you've got WrestleMania, you've got King of the Ring, you've got SummerSlam, you've got Survivor Series with War Games now. And in the months in between, they could use names like Backlash, like No Way Out, like Unforgiven. They already own the IP. You may as well use it. I want Halloween Havoc as a main roster show, not an NXT show. Shawn Michaels was on the conference call before the NXT Halloween Havoc show this week. He says his goal is to make it so that when people think of Halloween Havoc, they no longer think of WCW, they start thinking of NXT. Yeah, I mean, if you have new fans who don't even know what WCW is, then of course they're going to look at it as an NXT show. It's nice to have goals in life. No longtime wrestling fan is ever going to look at NXT Halloween Havoc and think, oh, it's the NXT show, as opposed to the WCW show. That's ridiculous. Halloween Havoc should be a main roster show. And I still think Triple H is going to find a way to bring back Starrcade in place of what would have been Day One, which looks to be canceled, although they still have not made that announcement official. But it looks like the Day One pay-per-view is canceled. In fact, I think the something changed the date of the show, or where they were going to be doing the show in Atlanta, I think, has moved to a different date. So Day One is not happening. And I still think Triple H may give us Starrcade in December as a replacement. But, you have all those shows. You've still got the 2 annual Saudi Arabia shows. You probably have an annual UK Stadium show. It sounds like they want to go back there every year and do a UK show. There you go. There it is. There's your pay-per-view schedule. I just filled it out for you. Now, WWE is already making plans for the 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw in January, and according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, before Triple H even started as the head of creative, there were already plans to do the show from the place where it all began, the Manhattan Center in New York City. It was at least an idea on the table. Nothing was set in stone, but even when Vince McMahon was still there, it was something that was already being discussed. And WrestleVotes said he wasn't sure if that's still the case, but that, potentially it could be. And I think it should be. Absolutely should be. Raw at the Manhattan Center would be great. They went back there for the 25th anniversary. Unfortunately, they didn't give those people in the building much to cheer for. They were doing it from different locations. They were at the Barclays Center for part of the night. They were at the Manhattan Center. They had Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler sitting there looking like they were fucking sleeping at their announce desk. You do the entire show, 30th anniversary of Monday Night Raw, back from the place where it all started. That is absolutely the way to go. They got to bring it back there. I think Triple H will do it up the right way. I think it'll be a nice homage to where they started. And I also, frankly, I think it's nice to just get out of that comfort zone that you're in. You have the same LED set, the same look, the same feel to Monday Night Raw every single week. When Triple H took over, when they had the season premiere a few weeks ago, there were people hoping, oh, we're going to get new music and we're going to get a new set. You know how much that set cost them? Millions of dollars. So they're not interested in replacing it with a brand new set. They're going to get another fucking 5 or 10 years out of that thing. But wouldn't it be nice every now and then? WCW used to do this. They would have like a spring break show from a different location. Right? I'm not saying it has to be spring break, but have Raw every now and then, even if it's smaller, even if it means you can't sell as many tickets, or jack up the fucking prices. But just do Raw from maybe a smaller, more intimate, kind of unique location. The Manhattan Center, I know they've said, is not a great location for TV. But as an anniversary show, one time, I think it would be a great idea. And I'd like to see them do more of those shows a few times throughout the year. Get out of your comfort zone, get out of the usual buildings that you're in, and play to a different audience somewhere else. Look, the Manhattan Center isn't just the grand ballroom upstairs, which is where I presume they would be doing Raw. Downstairs, on the first level of the Manhattan Center, is the Hammerstein Ballroom. And I don't believe WWE has run a Hammerstein show since that one episode of ECW that they did where the crowd completely shit on Batista and Big Show. I think that was the last time they ran that venue. GCW ran it at the beginning of the year in January. They did their big show, which sucked. But absolutely, they should be back at the Manhattan Center.